This is the Big Fish Cares Podcast. Big Fish Cares Podcast. And here's your host, Benny Fisher.
All right, everyone. I am here with a good friend of mine, Dan Costantino.
That was good.
Did I do it right?
That was perfect.
Because, I mean, I've been calling this guy Costantino, probably because it's, is there like a movie called Constantine or something?
There is.
Yeah.
There is.
So I think that's probably, yeah. And I know there's no N in there. Like, it's clear as day on your Facebook profile. And we've been friends for like 3 or 4 years, and I still do it.
My uncle actually spelled his name Costantino on Facebook because everyone spelled it wrong.
So he's just like, hey, can't beat him, join him.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself, Dan. Where'd you grow up? What was the childhood like?
City boy from Pittsburgh. Started out in the north side. Parents got divorced when I was 6 years old, and so we lived between North Side and Westwood, which was between West End and Greentree and Elliott and all that stuff. So yeah, went to city schools, and I look back now I'm completely suburbanized.
Yeah.
So I look back.
You guys should check out the YouTube. If you guys should watch this on video and just check out Mr. Dan here. He is definitely a suburban guy.
And so yeah, just growing up in the city, it taught me so many lessons. I wouldn't trade it for anything, but happy to be in the suburbs now. But yeah, went through that. We could have a week-long conversation on the childhood and everything else.
So when did your parents divorce? My parents divorced when I was 5.
6 years old.
All right, similar story.
Yeah,
did you live with mom?
Live with mom. Yep.
See dad on the weekends?
Every other weekend. See him every once in a while. Otherwise, you'd come to some games and stuff like that.
You have brothers and sisters?
One brother, younger brother.
Okay, how old? Or how much younger, I guess?
He's like 4 years younger than me.
Okay, so kind of like not really hanging out with him all the time, but kind of.
No, it's probably when I was the typical older brother that terrorized my younger brother.
Is he he's probably better for it though right now?
Yes and no.
Yeah.
It's something I'm actually making sure I work on right now, because
there you go.
Like I pushed him away a lot, in high school, because being divorced, you try to become like the patriarch or whatever. And we had some turbulent times in middle school, high school, with a stepdad that we had dying. When I was in college, but from an overdose. So went through some shit, obviously. But
so there's some adversity there.
Yeah, but trying to be that man of the house whenever you're immature is not necessarily a good recipe, especially when you're a little jerk kid from the city. You do things that I wouldn't do now. As a suburban dad.
Were you a fighter?
No.
Pittsburgh Public Schools. I mean, I bet you
I got into a couple fights. I was not a fighter by any stretch.
Yeah.
I
didn't think so.
I was like 100
know.
pounds wet.
Yeah, no, I got you.
No. We almost got into a lot of fights for some. I mean, that's just what the city is. Middle school was crazy. It was I went to Greenway, and I always like to refer to it as the penitentiary, because it was nuts. There were fights every single day.
How old are you right now?
I'm 43.
So you're a couple years older than me. Did you smoke cigarettes in high school?
No, my whole family smoked.
You never tried a cigarette?
Every house I grew up in, the walls were yellow from cigarettes. I thought it was the most disgusting thing in the world. Why was I going to do that?
It's got that wallpaper that you're trying to peel off one of these houses that you're trying to flip now.
Yeah. I mean, I had asthma when I was younger. I'm fully convinced it was because I was inhaling smoke for the first 12 years of my life. I mean, it was nuts.
So growing up in an environment like that,
drank Mad Dog though.
Huh?
Drank Mad Dog though.
Okay.
That was
That was like the stuff
that was
could you buy that stuff at the gas station? I forget. In Ohio, you could.
No.
In Ohio, you could.
No.
In Pennsylvania, they got weird beer and liquor laws, right?
Yeah, it was terrible.
Like you had to you
had to know someone.
You had to know somebody older, right?
Yeah, that hung out with high school kids.
Gotcha. So, what kind of education did your mom and dad have? Did they go to college? Did they have good jobs?
Yeah, they so my mom had me when she was 17, so she dropped out of high school to have me. She I think she worked at, you're not from Pittsburgh. They might have had it, Children's Palace.
Yes, this is like a toy store,
Yeah. She worked there for a little bit, and then she got a job at the Marriott in Greentree, where my dad's mother, my grandmother, worked. She was a banquet waitress. Little 4'11", 5 foot Italian lady, just carrying these big heavy trays of dinners and stuff like that. She worked there from the time it opened in 1970. She got my mom a job, and she became a banquet bartender, and she did that for most of my life through high school. My dad was a factory worker. He worked at Packaged Products, which got bought by a big company. I went and worked with him when I was in college during the summers. Good job. They made cake boxes and cake trays, those little corrugated things. They made the circles. We used to take the seconds like that didn't get made and shipped. We'd take them to my friend's house at parties, and we'd whip them around.
So fair to say they're both hard workers, showed up every day.
That was my biggest advantage in life.
Yeah.
I mean, we had trust me, we have stories and we have trials and tribulations that I could, have chose a different path in life for sure. I always use those things as kind of like, I don't want to end up like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I feel like that's a lot of people's story.
Always had love from both. And the divorce part was definitely trying. When you're young at 6 years old, you're like, they're getting back together, right? I mean, for years, that obviously was never going to happen. And really for the first 10 years, I think my mom referred to my dad as the dumb dago. And
they never really talked well about each other. Yeah.
No, I mean, she was, when they were divorced, she was 23. Like, it's so hard. I always thought she was old,
Yeah. My mom was 25. My dad was 23.
Yeah. So it was pretty interesting looking back on it. And then at some point they hit a period where they were both mature, and they co-parented very well. Like, my mom would have parties, and my dad would come over. Like, it was just cordial. Like, there was never any fling or anything like that. It just was, they were mature again. And one of the big things that my dad did, I always, it took me a while, but I praised him for it. Like, when you're a kid, you test the parents, right?
Oh yeah, my kid tests
And when one turns you down, you go to the other one.
Right.
And like, I'm in high school, I remember, and my mom did something. My mom is my favorite person in the world. She's no longer with us, but I don't even remember what she turned me down for. But I remember going to my dad, like, what a bitch, He goes, "You're not going to talk about your mother like that to me." And he was like, "That's your mother," and he shut me down right away, and it showed me like, oh man, like I just, if I would go to my mom, she'd be like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
It was, and that was like,
moms are more emotional.
Yeah.
Moms are more emotional. I think that's something that happens. I know that I work on that with Sammy a lot. Sammy will try to work both me and his mom, and it's, but you can tell, like, I can spot it, as a sales guy, I can literally spot it when he's trying to do something, and it's like, and then I'm trying to figure out how to respond. And of course, I always respond with like pretending like the Supreme Court Justice of the United States is standing there. You know what I mean? I'm just like trying to be as diplomatic as possible.
Yeah.
Because it's hard, you know what I mean? And kids, it's you have a couple kids at home, and you know what it's like. Even in the home, they're trying to put one parent against the other parent, right?
Yep.
Well, when you're in two separate households, I mean, you can get away with a lot more.
Oh yeah.
Because there's not that, like, every day. It's not like we're talking every single day, and it's like, you and your wife can go to bed at night and probably like, all right, what'd that kid say? What'd that kid say? And like, you guys can team up against the kids, right? Mm-hmm. So that's really cool. What kind of aspirations and dreams did you have when you were in high school? Because I know you went to college.
Yeah. I really did not know. I didn't
so you're like
really
the rest
have
of
much
us.
direction in high school. I was on the tennis team in City, which you have to visualize because this is the 1990s. I graduated in 96. I think I graduated, I was like 130 pounds. I was wearing 36 size, those big 90s shorts.
Yeah, down past your knees?
Playing tennis. Sagging.
Yeah.
Everything. I had the leather belt to hold them.
Do you have like the white sweater on? Do you like cross it and like
no,
like a country club style?
No. We tried to look as close to Compton as we could. It was ridiculous.
What kind of tennis player were you? Like, how'd you rank out of all the kids?
The City League was terrible. I was actually okay.
It was terrible, or you were terrible?
The whole ecosystem.
So everyone was bad. So every time you played someone else, you guys got destroyed
because it was terrible.
Gotcha.
But anyway, we had our wood shop coach for the first couple years, and then my senior year we had the freshman counselor, was new to the school, and again he was the freshman counselor. He took a liking to me, Paisan, fellow Italian. And he's the one that said, I see something in you. I just assumed I was going to CCAC. You're programmed in the city schools Like that's your really only option. And that's what my counselors were pretty much gearing me up for. If you didn't play like real sports like basketball and football, which our high school was really good at,
you couldn't afford to go to Pitt, right? Or like any like is it kind of like that? Like
we didn't have any money. We would have got a lot of grants.
Pitt's not a dream, right? I mean, it's like is Pitt the goal when you live in Pittsburgh or not?
I didn't even think that I could make it in a real college because you're just programmed that if you're in a city school, you're
like
not
they don't
good
want
enough.
you. They don't want you.
It's not that they don't want you, that you're not smart. Like you don't have the same education as the suburbs. I'm telling you, it's.
Do you have to take like in our school? Like there was always the SAT, but then we had this thing called the ACT. Did you guys take any of those?
I never took the ACT. I took the SAT.
What'd you get on the SAT?
I don't remember.
Just ballpark. Around the nearest 100.
1,200.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he's a bright guy. Everyone, bright guy.
It's like, it was decent. I was good in math.
Yeah.
English, language arts, whatever. I was not strong.
I feel like we're like that similar.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I literally got straight A's in English my senior year, only reading the Cliff's Notes. I did not read any book. I probably didn't read a book until maybe college, but probably after college.
I didn't start reading books. So I read like Stephen King books when I was a kid because those were fun, right? And then I didn't go to college. I mean, I went to college, but dropped out. Probably did I did the Cliff Notes things, or like I could like get by on typing stuff after reading a couple chapters or something. Never read a whole book cover to cover.
Nope.
Didn't start reading until about 3 years ago when I was stuck in business and I was just like getting really frustrated. I read a book called Legacy by James Kerr. And when I read that book, I was super like I wanted to get something out of it. So like, I read it and I got a bunch out of it, and then I just started going on the book journey. I feel like I've read 40 or 50 books since.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to, because there was a little passion there, and because then I had a reason to actually read a book and it made sense. So that's interesting. So tell me about college life. Where'd you go to college?
Went to Robert Morris. My tennis coach pushed me to Robert Morris because he knew someone. I was so scared my first year of not succeeding, and now I look back, I always had that drive, but it is a lot of times driven from a fear of failure. I think my first semester I got a 3.7, and I'm like, okay, I do belong, and that was like, it kind of clicked that, I can do this.
Then the confidence started building up.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Then I got involved in the rowing team, and that was probably the best thing for me because I really learned to get that drive and then mirror it with work ethic because we had a tyrant of a coach.
So what makes you join the rowing team? Because like where I grew up,
I thought it was easy.
Where I grew up, we didn't have rivers and stuff like that. And I remember being at the Home and Garden Show one year, and I would look outside the convention center, and I'd see on the river, I'd see these big old canoes with like 5 or 6 people in it. And I'm like thinking like, I remember seeing that. I think there's an Olympic sport with rowing, right?
Oh,
yeah. So I remember seeing like the Olympic Games. I remember seeing rowing. I'm thinking like, how does anybody ever get into rowing? And here I look outside the convention center, look down at the 3 rivers, and there's people rowing. And I remember one time being on, what's that place over by Washington's Landing? There's a little bar restaurant. Redfin Blues. Yep. And I would sit out there in patio, and then I would see like these rowers come, and there would be like some coach like on on another boat or something, like with a PA,
yep.
with a PA speaker or something, like just
yelling at them.
Yeah, I'm like, this is so interesting. The other thing about Pittsburgh that I didn't have was hockey. We didn't have hockey in Canton, Ohio. Maybe they did, but I didn't know where it was at. So how did you like get into rowing? Was there another buddy of yours that was into rowing? Like, how do you just say, oh, I want to be a rower?
I was looking for something to do, and honestly, I thought it was easy. And then you get up,
you just sit out there, you just go like this,
gosh,
right?
It is so hard. We had football players that would come work out because they, conditioning, there's nothing really better. And the coach would send them over to the rowing coach, she was like a 5'2" woman. She used to be a gymnast, and then she was she almost made the Olympics in gymnastics and rowing. So she was a badass, to be honest. And like football players would come over and they would work out. If you work out hard with like the way she wants you to, like you're gonna puke, like no doubt. So it was really hard.
That's no fun on a boat. Now, did you guys always have to practice? Where do you practice at? Do you just practice on the river all the time?
We would go down Washington's Landing for the first couple of years. Then she built a boathouse out in Coriopolis.
Okay, like off Neville Island or something like that. Out that way.
Yep. And then
so you always
a lot of it was indoor. A lot of it was indoor.
So there's like simulation stuff that you can do. I'm assuming.
A rowing machine. Yeah, rowing machine, and I'm serious. Like you had trash cans near you because like the way, you do the interval training.
Was that boring? Like that part of it boring? Like being inside like that in a simulated
There was nothing
environment?
boring. It was hard, dude.
Well, I know it's hard, but like because like nothing's moving around you, like was it hard to get into it? Like it's like almost like riding a bicycle or doing a treadmill. Like I mean, there's got to be something different about treadmill versus like actually going out jogging, right?
Yeah,
I'm not a workout guy, but I'm assuming that like it's
no. Like we have a rowing machine in my house. My wife wanted one because she was a rower. That's where I met her.
oh
And long story short, I stayed off that thing for years just because I didn't want to go back to that.
You don't want to be triggered.
But, yeah, so I did get on it. I still work out on it now, but yeah, it's hard. It can be boring, long steady state stuff. I'll turn the lights off sometimes and just listen to music and just go to the beat.
That's cool. Yeah. So what'd you study in school? What did you graduate with? What did you want to do?
So marketing. I wanted to be more in the creative stuff, like making commercials and things like that. And,
yeah, that's cool.
Kind of never went down that path. I mean, I am very interested in that. I love the creative stuff, but I found sales. I had a sales class in college, and then I got an internship with a Fortune 500 company, actually not too far from where you grew up, Roadway Express in Akron.
Okay.
And that was in sales, and yeah.
Now, was that like more business to business type sales?
Yeah, we went to companies in these industrial parks. That's what we cased, man. We went for distributors and manufacturers, and yeah.
So you were more like, so you'd get an account and you would service the account, right?
Yep.
So it wasn't like hardcore. It wasn't like hardcore sales. It wasn't like you had to go in and like
No,
it's not like car sales or like in-home sales.
It was relationships. This is early 2000s. So no one had funnels back then or anything like that. It was relationships.
Mr. Brunson was still a young kid in diapers, probably.
They wanted you to go out and entertain people. So my job in college was to set up appointments and stuff like that for the territory salespeople. When I graduated, they put me as a prospecting rep. So I went and I was supposed to knock on 20 doors and try to get appointments and turn them into warm leads for the territory reps. That lasted 3 months. A territory opened up in Washington, PA, and then I took that. And but I mean, I would go on entertainments and things like that, and it just was a new world to me altogether.
So you got right into that corporate world and kind of just fit right in.
Yep.
And did you have any mentors during that time?
My boss he's still my mentor today. Like, I mean,
what's his name?
John Evans.
John Evans. Big shout out to John Evans out there. If you're listening.
He said when I got my first job, he was like, you will put 15% in your 401k. He's like, that's not an option.
Wow.
Because you'll never miss it because you never made this money.
You sound like me now. I was, so when we started a 401k here at Big Fish, we have a kid here, kid. I call him a kid because he's like 22 years old and I'm like 40. So I feel like I'm old enough to be his dad. And I said, buddy, when we do this, I said, you need to max that thing out. I said, because you'll never notice it gone if you do it right away.
Yep.
And he's been doing that. And I don't know, he's got like, I feel like 15, 20 grand already in like a year and a half, 2 years. I mean, like,
there's 30-year-old kids that don't have that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And like, I keep like giving him the dad advice, you know what I mean? Cause I'm thinking like, man, and people gave that advice to me when I was a kid. I just never took it. You know what I mean? So like, I'm thinking, I was like, Tommy, also don't like just hear like this old guy saying this to you and then not go do it and then buy a bunch of beer and pizza and, video games. I said, because that's what I did, unfortunately, because I heard all that stuff. I went out and bought new cars and was trying to impress people but that's important, man. So it sounded like you had a good head on your shoulders early.
Yeah, I mean, again, fear of failure. I had my chance. I had a company car right out of college.
What kind of car?
It was a Dodge Intrepid Gold.
Yeah, there you go.
It was a hand-me-down.
I remember those Intrepids.
When it's funny. I just wrote a post a couple weeks ago about the mailbox. I don't know if you saw that one, but they took me on a golf trip, with clients to Treesdale Country Club.
All right.
That thing is not far from where I grew up. And I had never seen that many nice houses in my life. I could not believe that there were that many nice houses.
It's like the Beverly Hills of Pittsburgh, man.
I could not understand it. And I'm sitting there with a complex, pissed off. And I'm like, I don't know what these people do. There's no way they're all doctors and lawyers, right? So I was like, they should have to have a label on their mailbox, a little plaque.
I did see that.
It's something I still carry with me like all the time because that's where I go back to high school. What did you want to be? I didn't know. Like the most successful person in my life was my grandfather. He was a mid-level manager at Bell Telephone that got bought by Verizon.
Yeah.
I didn't know anyone that was.
You don't know what you don't know. I mean, like, you don't even know what's
There's
out there.
literally no examples.
No, and when you're in
the
school, like,
city
they give you, like, attorney, doctor, architect, engineer.
But
like,
that's for other people.
Yeah,
I'm telling
like-
you, that's the mindset.
yeah, and it's like, once you realize that that's not you, because I'm like, I ain't going to school for that. Like, I don't even want to touch, like, naked people on an operating bed. And I don't want to stand in a courtroom all day arguing, because that sounds miserable. Yeah. All right, now what am I going to do with my life? It's, I found sales too, and then sales was exciting, right? Like, it's just, you can kind of do what you want. You can kind of, like, make your own little way, still have a little structure, right? So you did that for a while. What's the career path from, like, there to, like, like what you've been doing the last few years? Because I know you were in corporate America for a while, right?
Yeah, about 17 years. I did 5 years at Roadway, and I came to my boss, John Evans, and I went in the office, and I had, like, tears in my eyes because I knew I was quitting. And
why'd you want to quit?
I got an opportunity with a smaller company that I knew I could. It was more commission based as opposed to quota based.
Were you looking, or did they approach you?
I was at a networking event, and someone approached me and said, "Hey,
got those wheels
look
turning.
at this compensation package." I'm like, "Holy crap!" So I went to him. I said, "Look, I forget. I was 25 maybe." I said, "I want to make $100,000 by the time I'm 30."
That was the magic number when we were kids.
That was the magic number, and he just shook his head. He goes, "Well," he's like, "you're doing good, but that's going to be hard to do." Because he had it in his head. He grew up pretty close, same
right, yeah.
upbringing, and he
he
had that limiting belief for him. He was already making six digits, but for me coming right out the gate at 25, like he was, I think
he couldn't figure out how to get you there.
Not within that structure, and that's all he knew, and that was the best structure ever because they had a pension and everything, and that has all since gone away. But he had a good life, but what I wanted was probably a little too soon. I hadn't earned it yet. So it took me probably 2, maybe 3 years at the new company, and I sent him my W-2, and I don't think he said much, to be honest. I still throw it in his face every once in a while.
He's proud of you, though, man.
No, certainly.
That's awesome.
Yeah. He was my first private lender in real estate.
Did you, when you made that $100,000, like this whole journey, like what's your mom and dad saying? Because that mom and dads, they don't like kids switching jobs, because that's like taboo. It's like, oh my gosh, like you've only been there a couple of years, like you gotta stay there for 40 years.
Yep. I had made, I think the year before I made the 6-digit mark, I think I was like 98K, and my mom was like, "Man, you almost made it." And she did it in a good way. She was proud of me, but she was also like, she always drove me by saying, "I know you can do better." It was never disappointment. It was like, "I know you got more in you," and that's good. Looking back.
So when you went to switch jobs, like when you went to switch jobs, was she like on board, total support?
Yeah.
She didn't.
Yeah, she was fine with it. Yep.
So what'd you do after that?
Yeah, so I went to freight forwarder. Had a great career there. That's where I got my first stint in operations. I had to run the station, and we turned around.
So no more sales?
No, I did both.
So you were doing sales and ops?
Dude, it was the best thing for me. I'd go sell during the day and have my operations crew run it. And at night, I had to make sure that stuff,
they could execute, done. Right?
Yeah, so when I was delivering at night, I was selling in the day. It was, I saw the whole ecosystem, right? So I did very well. Had a good stint there. Did that for 5 years. Then I got a chance to open up a new division with my original mentor, John Evans. I pushed him into going to this company based in not too far from me, Rochester, actually, in Beaver County. And we started up a new division that did what, it was a third-party logistics company.
And you recruited John?
He told me about it.
Oh, he
and
told you
I goaded him into it, and I said, "We'll go as a team. We'll do it together. We'll open up this division." And I said, "Do you know what money you can make?" Because he was still stuck in that like low 100s range, and I called him a bitch and everything else, and he thanks me to this day because he is.
You got him out of his comfort zone.
I got him out of his comfort zone, and
you're like 20 years
we did
younger.
Some really cool things together,
right? Like he's in his early 60s, late 50s, or something.
Yeah, he's in his 50s. He's probably 15 or so.
That's cool though, man. That's awesome.
So we did some really cool stuff there. We had a great time. We had a lot of fun. It was a little bit, toxic of a company. I was there 7.5 years because of a non-compete, and that's a whole nother story. But learned a lot of things. We did a lot of great things. We killed the travel and expense. Like we traveled and entertained like you would not believe. I mean, we used to compete on it. on how much we could spend.
And what's the bosses like in an environment like that? Like, do they give you a budget? Do they like, like, how do you know how hard to...
They wanted you to entertain as much as possible.
So like literally like it's like unlimited credit card. You can just like, you can go wherever you want.
I mean, unlimited.
What's the best, most fun trip that you like, you had to pinch yourself? You're like, I can't believe I get to do this. Like I get paid and I get to go like blow.
The Ryder Cup was one of the funnest things. We
That's
went to the
cool.
Ryder Cup. We took clients to the Ryder Cup. We did the world's largest outdoor cocktail party, the Georgia-Florida game down in Jacksonville.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of it?
No. Oh, you know what? I think I actually have, but like, it's a college football
site
thing,
It's
right?
one of those neutral site games they do every year, and it's like the Super Bowl for college. I mean, it's nuts, and they do it every year. And it was, all Southern girls, sundresses and cowboy boots. I mean, like CSX, the train company, had 12 cars lined up, like passenger cars, and each one was a different theme.
Okay.
And like,
so they went all out.
It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
So yeah, we did stuff like that.
All kinds of cool stuff.
Yeah, I would go to Penguin games. I mean, I saw at least one game in every series of like the Penguins Cup runs.
Wow. That's awesome. When did you meet your wife? You met your wife in college. When did you guys get married? During this time? Like, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, I got married when I was 25.
Wow.
Had Bella when I was like 30. So yeah, we moved in together.
What'd your wife do during this time?
She was in recruiting for a while. Like
okay.
HR. She was an HR major. She did recruiting for Aerotech. They're a large staffing company. And then she's been working at UPMC for the last 16 years or something.
I'm afraid of your wife, by the way.
I'm afraid of my wife.
Yeah. I'll never forget. We went to dinner. And she was telling me about those things that she does where she like gets blindfolded or something and then like has to fight her way out of a situation. I'm thinking like...
And she loves fighting.
I know. Like she's yeah, she's a bad woman. Like I'm afraid of her.
She's taking boxing classes now because Bella is.
Yeah, I see that. I love watching that on social media and stuff like that.
And she's going, I know I shouldn't say that, but she says she's
put it out there. Put it out there in the ether right now, man.
I'm pretty sure
on this
she's gonna
podcast.
Fight.
There you go.
I'm pretty sure she's gonna end up fighting.
Like
boxing.
Your wife.
Yeah. Like
in like real matches, like for prize money and like stuff like that.
No prize money, but yeah.
Well, come on, man. Can we bet on her?
Yeah. What the hell?
Heck yeah, man.
I'm not betting against her. I'll tell you that.
So you worked at that company for 7.5 years. You were doing all kinds of fun stuff.
That's when I got my start in real estate.
And then you again that whole drive where like you always want something more, right? What was your job not giving you that you thought, oh man, I want to get into real estate and start tinkering with that?
Yeah, I was the first or second sales rep in the company, and they kept messing with my commissions.
Oh, they always do, right?
Yep.
Because they're trying to optimize to try to get you consistently going after new business, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the name. They don't want you just to sit back and coast, and then get into real estate and just try to do both at the same time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, anyway, we went to a success conference. Zig Ziglar's son was there, and
love Zig Ziglar.
Yeah, and so anyway, that's when I start looking into alternative ways to make money, side hustles. So I started investing in stocks and options. I'm too emotional for that. I suck at that. And I also started, I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I was interested in real estate.
Check out right behind you, buddy.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
One of my business partners is literally reading that right now. He's like, I can't believe I didn't read this before. He's like, it's freaking me out. That's the book that changed my life. I mean, I just never thought that way. And I think most real estate investors got started by that book, but it changed my life. And I started looking for houses, and I said, I'll flip a house or two and make an extra $100,000 a year is what my goal was. And then I found some deals that were made rentals, and it just
that $100,000, that $100,000, regardless of what you're making at your job now, it's like, okay, now I want to make $100,000 in something else. But like that $100,000 is like burnt into our minds.
Yeah.
Was that that must have been the American dream that they've been selling us for the last 20, 30 years.
It was. And now like I'm trying to break myself out of that to only think,
Yeah, and like $1 million's not even that much anymore.
Nope.
I mean, the way inflation's going, I mean, as we record this podcast, I mean, I feel like I use premium in the one car that I have, and it's like,
it's insane.
$5 a gallon.
In my truck, I use 87, and it's
I use 87 in my truck too. That's why I like my truck.
Yeah.
The Hellcat though, not so much.
I got my TRX coming.
Well, Did
you see that?
No.
It has a Hellcat engine, the Ram TRX.
Oh, the truck. Yes. It's only 702 horsepower. I wonder why that is.
I don't know.
Why is it not 707?
I don't know, man.
That's interesting.
If it's Benny's, it's 707.
That's another podcast.
Yeah, but yeah, that's coming. It'll be on the truck.
So you started getting into real estate. How did you go? So what I know from back in the day when these people would attend these seminars, everybody was trying to sell a course.
It's a free seminar.
It was a free seminar you went to. Did they try to sell you something at the end?
I paid $27,000 for it.
There you go.
Yeah. It was actually Rich Dad's
Robert
program.
Yeah.
It sucked too. I'm not gonna lie. It was terrible. But I argued with him. I got like $7,000 back. But it got me in the game.
Hindsight's 20/20 though, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, like, you put that money up and then you learn a lot faster, right?
You pay for speed. I've done, probably definitely over 6 digits, over 100,000 in self-development. It might be over 2 at this point.
Dude, you spent that last 2 years just in Apex. What are you talking about? Come on, man.
Potentially.
And the traveling.
The traveling, I don't count the traveling.
Okay. Well, I mean, like it's.
I bought a house down there.
Yeah, which was probably what, 300,000-400,000?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So just stop talking about it's just over 6 digits. It's way over 6 digits. He's so modest, people.
It's changed my life.
He's so modest.
It's changed my life.
He's went all in on the self-development.
But I would like to tell people you got to be careful on what programs you pick, because that $27,000 program was all about the name, and all they would do is tell you to join your local RIA group, your Real Estate Investment Association, call your CPA, call your lawyer.
But I'd like to fight back and as a brand guy and as like somebody like him that built his name up to you trusted him enough to go to his seminar.
Yep.
You then obviously trusted him enough to swipe your credit card for $27,000. It got you in the game. It got you where to be. And it's going to make you millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars over the next 20 years.
It did for me, but 90%.
Well, that's because you got to put the work in.
Well, but I'm trying to give people a shortcut. Join your local RIA groups. Okay, every market
we got a hack right now. This is what they call a hack for you real estate investors.
Join your local Real Estate Investment Association. They will bring gurus, whatever you want to call them, experts, that you can do boot camps. They're typically like $1,000, $2,000, $3,000. Go do those things first before you drop $27,000.
And talk to guys like you, because I tell you what, you are a plethora of knowledge. I remember when I first met you, I'm fascinated by the real estate world because I don't really, understand it because I'm really focusing on my contracting business. But you've always been, you literally answer any question I've ever asked.
Yeah.
And I always like to tell people, don't just go to someone and think that they're just going to give you knowledge because they don't know what you even want. You have to ask really good questions, and you have to be and then you have to be persistent, and then you actually have to go do a little bit of the work, and then you got to come back, ask for some more. But if you just ask enough questions, I mean, you can get all the answers that you want without having to pay $100,000 for a course, or $20,000 for a course, or $5,000 for a course.
Yep.
So that's really good advice. I do know, because I'm friends with Josh Adamick, and he got me to go to one of those meetings one time. Mm-hmm. And John Burley, I guess, was a guest there. And, he's a big name, right? Mm-hmm. And so it is cool. I mean, you can get access to this types of people. And then with social media, all you got to do is follow a few of them. I mean, they put out content literally every single day. And if you just take all the content and put it all together, I feel like that's their course.
There's no question about it. People like it packaged though. Like I don't want to go. I could go on YouTube and learn from a specific person and get the game. There's something about having it all packaged.
Oh yeah.
So again, I'm paying for speed, especially if I want access to them, so that I can give specific details and say, is this good or bad?
So your wife was on board, right? I'm assuming the whole time. Was there tell me about any of those struggles or adversities, like when you're off in the corporate world, she's doing her thing, you guys are making babies. All of a sudden you're like, hey man, I'm paying $27,000 for a course. I mean, that's a big bill. I mean, did you talk to her about that?
Or did you after?
Because you had 30 days to pay the bill back. So knowing you probably thought, I'm going to figure out how to flip this around real quick. I got a plan to pay this back.
I think I called her. I don't know. She lets me do whatever I want.
That's good.
Even if she questions it, But
you got a good track record.
Her dad was not at that point. I was unproven. But
did you make any bad financial decisions up until that $27,000 investment?
No,
So that's what I mean. So you had a good track record. That's a good track record. I mean, you didn't blow all the money.
No,
you weren't
gambling.
You weren't out gambling it away. You weren't drinking. You weren't out buying a bunch of cars back then, right? Were you? Maybe you were. I don't know.
No.
I know you like
I was
cars
at a
now.
company car. I never understood the whole car thing until my neighbor gave me his M4 and let me drive it. I was like, oh,
yeah.
Now I get it. But no, at the end of the day, her dad was a home builder, so she was familiar with real estate to a decent degree. So I think she was comfortable with me going in that direction. But I mean, I
did you have any circle of friends in Pittsburgh? Like, did he help you a little bit? Did you like bounce ideas off of these people, or like?
No, he helped me finish my basement. That was what gave me some confidence. It took me 2 years, but it gave me some confidence that I knew enough about the trades that I could manage subcontractors.
What year was that when you did your basement?
I can't remember now.
I don't know, like
13 years ago.
13 years ago. So when did you get your first? After you paid the $27,000 for the course, when did you like dip your toes into the water? How soon after that?
It was within a year. It was 2013.
And what'd you buy?
A foreclosure in Dormont.
Foreclosure in Dormont. How'd you find it?
That was a realtor it was on the MLS. You could find deals on the MLS back then pretty easily. So looking for foreclosures, bought I think it was like 40, around 40,000.
How'd you pay for it? Did you pay cash? Did you get a loan?
I had a home equity line of credit. I could do the whole project.
So you used the home equity inside your house that you had at your personal establishment. How much did you extract out? The 40 plus the rehab?
I could do the whole project. Yeah. We had, I don't know, it was like 120,000.
So you basically invested in yourself, put it all up, at the worst case scenario, you're obviously just going to be able to sell the house for like whatever. Yeah. You might not make money, but you're not going to like lose a ton, right?
Yep.
So tell me about that deal.
That was this is a great story, especially if you're ever looking to get into a deal, right? I almost walked away from $5,000 earnest money deposit the day before. And I had my stepdad at the time he did contracting. He helped me. He was the main person that helped me finish my basement and everything. He was one of those jack of all trades. He built the house that my mom and he lived in. I lived in there for a couple years after college. So he knew a lot. I was trying to do it on my own. I didn't get him involved.
Yeah.
And I'm like getting cold feet the week before because there's a crack in the foundation that I wasn't sure how to address. I'm like, am I going to be able to sell this? And I had all these imposter syndrome and doubts coming into my head. So I said, look, I'm going to walk away from this deal unless you come in and tell me, am I crazy on my rehab costs or not? So he came over. I didn't even tell him what my repair costs were because I had been studying. I followed all the steps, but I was just getting scared. So he came over. I said, I'm not telling you what the repair costs are that I'm estimating. I want to know what you think. And we were within like $5,000. And he asked me one question. We're standing on the porch. I'll never forget it. It's like dark out at this point. He goes, what's your worst case scenario? I'm like, I'll break even. He goes, well, then there's no question. As soon as I said that out loud, I knew what the answer was. Because you're
learning and you're breaking even.
Yeah, he said the education
tuition dollars.
Yeah, even if you break even, the education will be worth so much more. I ended up making $27,000.
How much work did it need?
It needed a new bath, new kitchen, and some plaster work and cosmetics. We painted the outside. I think the windows were fine, and a lot of landscaping. So it was not bad. I think I put in like 40 or 45.
Did you do any of the work yourself?
Zero.
So you hired everybody to do it?
I had one small contractor, 2-man crew. And they did everything.
They did everything, even the landscape?
Except the landscape.
They didn't do it. And you hired another company for the landscape.
And the exterior painting, I hired a painter.
And how was dealing with contractors can be like, that's a whole other show that we could do, right? I'm a contractor, you're a contractor. Like that's crazy in itself. But that one, okay. I mean, like that process.
It was a little, looking back on it, it's one of those people I probably wouldn't work with now.
Yeah, but you learn from it, right?
But he was good for me then.
But you didn't get totally cheap. You didn't get screwed though.
He was cheap. No, he never. No, right. We actually worked pretty well together. But he's one of those guys that didn't want to get workers' comp and
cutting corners.
Yeah, and he would do some corner cutting.
Yeah, then you come home in the evening, you come check the house out, and you're probably like scratching your head, like why? Like why did you do that?
The work was actually pretty good.
Oh, okay. Because I hired a guy one time to do my bathroom one time, like when I was on my first house, and I'd come home and I'd see like the lines, and they were like a little crooked, and I'm thinking like, how did you knowingly make that like that and just keep going?
Yeah.
Like why not just rip it out and start over? Like why did you put it all in? And you can see like, tile's hard, right? Like if you don't do it, this guy said he did tile, and I'm like, bro, it looked like Ray Charles did it. I'm like, holy cow.
Yeah. No, that one turned out well. Close to close, it was 91 days.
So 91 days, 27K clear.
Yep.
So you got all your home equity paid back. You got 27 grand now. What do you do next? And this is while you're still working, right? At your day job, like taking out clients and whining and dining and living the good life.
Yeah, I was doing well, man. I was like, this is going to be awesome. I'm going to be able to do this. And I just wanted to flip homes.
Well, you take that times 4, right? Because there's 4 quarters in a year, man. You're like, oh, there's my 100 grand.
Yep.
You're like above, man.
I had a clear picture of what I
you're like 108,000 right there. If you just keep doing that over and over and over again.
Then I got into my second flip. I did that one in my self-directed IRA, which was a pain in the ass.
Tell me about how that works for the people at home that are listening right now.
Yeah. So I rolled over from my first job, that Roadway Express job. I had a 401k.
That 15% you kept chucking in, right? You probably had a big account.
Yep. I ended up rolling that over to a self-directed IRA.
What does that mean?
Instead of putting it with like TD Ameritrade or Schwab, where they just invested in mutual funds and stuff like that, you're locked into what you can invest in. Mm-hmm. You can literally switch it over to a custodian that will allow you to, you're not borrowing the money, you're investing the money in passive assets, right? So you can do flips, you just can't do any of the work. You can do rentals, you can't do any of the work. And I don't think you're supposed to manage it. I don't do
So
rentals.
It's just a business. So but who's the custodian?
This was Equity Trust. They're in Westlake, Ohio.
So then Equity Trust, and you go to Equity Trust as like Dan, like from like X company LLC, and you say, hey,
you have to do a direction of investment. You tell them what you're investing in.
They have to approve it.
Yeah.
So as long as they're on board, is it like now how regulated is that company, or is it like a good old boy system? Like if they have a buddy.
The reason I like Equity Trust, and I don't get an affiliate off them or anything like that, they are hard to get the money out of. Does that make sense?
So
like,
they make sure that you're doing a good deal.
Like if I said, hey, I'm going to do a promissory note to my brother, they're like, you can't. That's a disqualified transaction. It
isn't like some buddy
it's
system.
A prohibited transaction.
You can't wine and dine them for approvals.
Nope.
Gotcha.
Nope.
Now is that how they all are, or is that just
no?
So there's good companies and bad companies.
It depends on how you phrase that. I also have a checkbook IRA. So that's a different setup altogether. There's no I know what I'm doing, so I'm comfortable having that.
And you're allowed to do that with the tax laws, the IRA, because the IRA gives you tax benefits, correct?
Hey, you get the rope long enough to hang yourself, right? So I only do.
I guess it's your own money, right? I mean, at the end of the day, it's your own money.
So I've done different deals in that one, right? So that gives me speed, right? Because it might take me a week to get the money out of Equity Trust. With the checkbook, I could write you a check today if you had an investment. I just did I just invested in a fund with the guy that I did that real estate training with in Apex last week. Mm-hmm. So he's doing a fund. I just put a self-directed IRA. That's a Roth self-directed. And then I've invested in Everbowl, which is an acai bowl franchise deal. And I did.
Is Everbowl the one that Fleischman's in?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love Dan Fleischman, by the way.
When
I realized that somehow you were connected with him, because I've known who he has been for like a while. I feel like I knew him from like Gary Vee. I don't know if they did something together or something back in the day, but so interesting.
The way he processes and explains complicated.
He's like Simon Sinek of like investing in business.
It's so simple.
Yes.
He literally does it with his little emojis, bullet points of emojis. And he explains things and breaks them down in such a consumable way that anyone can really he gives the game away all the time. He does those free elevator nights. We need to go to one of those.
I want to go.
I wanted to go to that one in Miami.
Do you think when he responds, that's his executive assistant responding, or do you think that's actually him that responds on like Facebook and stuff?
I think it's him.
I think it's him too, because he actually communicates with me, and I'm like, wow, dude, this is cool. Because I'm into NFTs, he's in NFTs. And I don't know. I keep dipping my toes in with him a little bit, and he's really cool.
He gets first action on everything, man.
Yeah, well, because he's the early adopter. He's like I thought I was an early adopter. Those guys are like.
But you know what he said?
Early
one
adopters.
Of the things I made a comment on his one post, and I said, "You're in all these cool things. Like, how risky are you getting? What's your tolerance?" And I forget what his actual percentages are. It might be 40 safe, 40 moderate, and then 20 moonshots.
Yeah.
Or it's somewhere around that. It was maybe 10%. moonshots.
Right. But that's all you need because that stuff's low price to begin with. I mean, there's all upside.
Yeah, but it was like you think he is in all these cool things.
But no one pays attention to the boring stuff, so that's why your mind then automatically goes, man, he's always doing all the risky stuff.
Yeah.
But the dude's worth probably $100 million or something like that. So, I mean, like, again, even if he's doing 10%, he's got still more than all the rest of us got, to like play with.
My partner on this last training, his name's Brittingham. He runs a huge real estate team. He's number one in like the Maryland, Delaware area. I think number 5 in the nation, right? Doing pretty well and successful. He said that he was at that elevator night in Miami.
Yeah, I saw that.
Flew on the private jet with Ryan and everything.
Yeah.
And I don't know who he was talking about. It might have been Dan. He's like, this dude became a billionaire because he lost his key to his wallet and had Ethereum in it. And because he wasn't going through the emotions of buying and selling and all that stuff, he forgot about it. It had grown so much. When he finally found his key, it was in the billions.
Yeah, I got lots of crypto stories from back in the day. Not really proud of, but let's get back to this real estate thing. So you did that house in Dormont. So
yes.
And then what? You did a couple more. You were using all your own money through IRAs,
yep.
retirement funds, and,
yep.
and would you just go one at a time, or when did you finally start doing? When did you get like to 2 at a time?
Probably by the end of the first year.
So then you started
going hot and heavy. And
so how were you finding deals? And you were still using your own money, correct?
Yeah, I'd go out. Yeah, I'm in outside sales. So I'd go out during the day and look at houses. I'd go at night.
Gotcha.
Weekends, I was all on it. I was hawking them. Any free time I got between calls, I'd go to an industrial park, hit as many people as I could, and I'd go look at houses. So
and you started that in 2013 was your first one, right?
Yeah.
And when did you finally quit your job?
The end of 2018.
2018. So for 5 years.
Did side hustle.
And it was always buying and flips, or did you ever hold and rent?
I had 30 units by the end of 2018.
That you were renting then?
Yep.
Okay, so you used the flips to make money, and then every once in a while you'd buy one to rent it out, right?
Yep.
And then get that income coming in, right?
Yep.
And then what's your strategy like back in those days, like with the income? Like, is it just there kind of like pay down the loan? Is it like, are you actually making money? Are you doing anything with that money? Are you leaving it in the corporation or whatever you call it?
Reinvesting. You see all those posts. What do I do? I got 20 grand liquid, right? 50 grand liquid.
Yeah.
What do I invest in, right? So if you're in real estate, like I don't go buy a cheap house, right? I keep that money and I borrow money, private money, hard money, whatever you have, and get the deal funded because you're going to need that 50 grand for budget overruns and float money. I don't care what anyone says. In most scenarios, you need money to flip houses, even if you're borrowing, because typically lenders are not going to front you the rehab money before the work's done because people will just rob you. So I am a hard money lender now. So I don't give all the rehab money up front, right? So you need that 25 to 50 grand liquid so you can cover closing costs, because I cover up to 100% of purchase price, but you've got to cover the closing costs. You got to cover my fees. You got to have some skin in the game. And then the rehab, you got to front the first, 10, 15, 20, whenever, however you want to do it on the draw schedule.
Yeah, you put deposits down with contractors, buy materials.
Yeah, so you're doing that because there's no value in there. Once the value's in there, then I reimburse you. So you need that money to do that. So,
and this is your
that's what I used my cash for. And then I kept scaling using private and hard money.
Tell me about the best, the most, the best learning lesson that you had, because this is the first time that you've ever actually like been a business person, right? Like where you had to like manage your own money, and it was like it was serious. It's on the line, right? Like, it's like your retirement depends on it, right? Like you're using your retirement money, at this point you're profitable right away. Where was the biggest lesson in those first 5 years that you can share with us? Like something crazy that like you just totally screwed up and you learned from.
There's a lot of little things. I never really got
nothing
that
bad.
hurt.
Nothing bad.
I mean, I lost money on deals for sure, but it would be like 8 grand or 10 grand. But I had.
Gotcha. So you never lost like 100 grand on a deal or something, like, because I mean, once you made that 27, it's like you were always in the plus then, no matter what. Like you were always in the plus, just learning. No,
I mean, I'm learning lessons now.
Well, of course,
this big deal we just did.
We're gonna get to that. Yeah. I want to get to that. Man, time is running out.
Yeah,
Dan, I tell you what, I feel like we could talk about hard money. We could do a whole show on hard money. We could do a whole show on investing in your education and masterminds and stuff like that. You're into real estate. You're a contractor. We didn't even get to that point yet today. We're going to have you back. I mean, like,
happy to come back.
We're going to have you back because there's a lot to cover. And I feel like my audience, unlike, most of the people you hang out with is already in this world, right? You hang out with all these real estate people. You're hanging out with people that are already in this. Most of the people that follow me, I think, they're not necessarily, they might have one or two. They might have got their toes wet, but they're not doing the level. I'll never forget when I first met you and you had your computer out and you were showing me all these spreadsheets. I was just like,
I don't want to.
I was like,
I don't want to know this.
I don't want to know this. Yeah, like I don't want to know. I just want to know a guy like you. So if I ever do it, I just want to be like, here, Dan, you tell me what we're going to do.
I love it, man. The trust I have with my lenders, I mean, it's pretty ridiculous to look at what the balance sheet is of how many people trust me with their money, and we're on it together.
So when you had those 30 units, how much were you cash flowing? Like how much income were you making every month that you could have said, okay, bye to the job? I don't know how much you were making. How much were you making? Will you share how much you were making at that job when you left? Because everybody likes that story.
Yeah. So when I left, I was making, I think that was my last job. That was 140, 150. And I had made up close to 200,000 was my peak.
Okay.
Career sales.
All right. So, that's double what you ever thought you were going to do, as a child. And these 30 units, what were you getting out of there?
I could not tell you.
You don't remember?
Cash flow is not what I'm in the game for, to be honest.
Well, I understand that, but you had to be able to quit your job and say, I'm going to go at this full time.
Flips were what I was, when I had 2 flips lined up.
Okay, so what kind of income were you able to, what kind of income did you know that
I was
no matter
making
what?
6 digits with flips at that point.
So you knew it was a safe bet. You could drop the $200,000 job. We're going to obviously going to go right back to, I'm going to go to flipping. I'll be able to do more flips though, right? Because now I'm going to have more capacity. So if I was doing 100,000 with flipping a year while I had my job, if I quit my job, I should be at least able to do the 200,000 and double, right? And then at least I can support my family, keep on pace, learn, get better. And that was kind of like the confidence that you had to just say, bye-bye, W-2.
It was, I knew I was going to be able to do it. I will tell you that what I'm able to accomplish now being focused. I remember having a conversation with the chief operating officer. I had a 2-year stint at a tech company. He was very good for me. He calmed me down. He helped me get the trucking out of me because I was pretty rough. You know what I mean? So he helped make me a little more professional when I was trying to. Before, you just argued at a trucking company. You just argue and get your way, right, and work it out. But anyway, he said, if you modeled out what your full focus was on real estate, you could do so. He already saw it. He saw it in me.
I tell people that all the time. If you can focus, that's why I'm scared to get into real estate at a high level, because I just want to focus on keep building my contracting company. Because I keep telling everyone, why don't you do real estate, Big Fish? Why don't you do real estate? I'm like, well, Big Fish contracting is like a piece of real estate. It's a piece of real estate that I can hopefully have a lot of input and control almost every single part of it. And it's an asset that provides then income. So to me, it's almost like a virtual piece of real estate. Yes, you can't see it, because it's in the air, right? But it's an asset that somebody could purchase, and then there's income that asset produces.
100%.
And I can control every single part of it. And again, I have upside because I can decide how fast I want to grow. I can decide how slow I want to grow. I can decide how much marketing I can control everything, which you can't necessarily do with one solid piece of real estate. But the only thing you can do in real estate is just keep buying more real estate, which is, how many units are you up to?
417.
417 units, folks. So you heard in 2018 when he quit his job, he had 30 units. It's 2022. And he's got 417 units. We're going to have Dan back because I want to talk to him about that. That's a big move to get to 417. I want to talk to him all about the self-improvement and the masterminds and the people he hangs out with, because there's some fascinating stories with that. I want him to come back on the show and talk to us about what it means to both receive hard money to do your own investments and also to be a hard money to give to somebody like Dan, to where you can make a return on your money without actually having to do anything. And park it with Dan instead of, park it in your own 401k or stocks and stuff like that you can't really control those companies. You know what I mean? If you believe in Dan, you believe in what he's doing, he's got a track record. He tells you what he's going to give you up front, right, Dan?
Yep.
You say, hey, you give me $100,000, I'm going to give you X amount of, APR or whatever it is. Yep. And there's a contract. It's always tied to something, right? It's not, right?
When people start out, yes, they usually get the first mortgage. I have people that have been investing.
Yeah,
with
then
me
now
in
they're
the
like, I don't
beginning.
even care. Yeah,
They,
like just
so I have a substantial amount of money waiting for my next deals. Like they still get paid every month. You know what I mean? So
And so you're like it's almost like you're running your own bank.
I mean, we have promissory notes. I have a promissory note with them. I pay them what I promised them.
Yeah, so it's like you're running your own little, like it's like it's back in 1900, and you like started a bank with a couple guys, and like it's like, you know, you get some money in from this guy, you loan it out to this guy, and like you're that guy in the middle that's kind of like managing all that stuff.
Yeah, so we're making that a little bit more formal. We're probably going to start a fund. I'm going with the guys from City Life to Vegas to do that. So we did a syndication for that big portfolio we just bought, but we're looking to start a fund and make it a little more official.
That's funny you mentioned City Life. I was just talking to Casey. I had a nice like hour-long conversation with him, I don't know, about a week ago, and you know, he's the guy that hit me in the side of the head with the golf ball.
I do remember
South Hills Country Club. But I told him, I said, I want you and Brian on here. I said, because I really admire, obviously, what they're doing in real estate. I don't even understand it all, but obviously it's big and it's been going fast and it's like really something to see. But the culture that they run, I'm really like, you know, it's, to be able to scale and keep the culture. Like, I feel like we have a good culture here at Big Fish, but I'm not scaling as fast as that because it gets to me like I don't even understand like how that even happens. Like, I'm fascinated with it.
Those two are you know, Brian is. It's funny because Casey's an animal. But Brian recognized what Casey was, and he brought him on. He knew exactly what he could do if he had Casey on the team. And just the two of them together, I mean, it is truly like rocket fuel.
Well, and that's how I feel here at Big Fish with me and Rob. I said, like, I've been watching Rob for the last 6 or 7 years, and I said, like, he's the magic piece to help Big Fish get to the next level, to get me from a 7-figure contractor to an 8-figure contractor. And the only reason we want to do that is basically to help more homeowners and help more employees and make a bigger impact, you know? Yep. So, all right, well, we're going to have you come back. But I always ask people 5 questions. I know you talked to me about Rich Dad, Poor Dad as being your favorite book. Do you have any other favorite books?
Atlas Shrugged.
Atlas Shrugged.
Atlas Shrugged, yes. By Ayn Rand.
By who?
Ayn Rand. AYNRAND. I'm
going to have to buy that book.
It's a long one.
Oh boy, longer than 12 Rules of Life by Jordan Peterson?
I don't know, but it's long.
Okay.
It's long. In little print.
Oh, okay. Not for us creative business guys.
It took me like a year to read.
What's that book about?
It's fictional, but it's philosophy. You know, it's about basically the producers of society going on strike instead of the takers. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, that'll be a fun one. What's your favorite movie?
Depends on what mood I'm in. You know, I always say Billy Madison's like my favorite.
That's good.
Comedy one.
But if you like had to if you knew you were going to die tomorrow and you wanted to watch one movie, like what would it be? Billy Madison?
It might be Old School now.
Old School? Oh yeah, that's so good.
It's so funny.
Nice little Saturday, you know. I might go to Bed Bath and Beyond, a little Home Depot. I'm not sure, you know.
I mean, yeah. Why wouldn't we? We should start a frat.
Snoop Dogg. Remember when Snoop Dogg comes out on stage? So how about this? You know, I'm into NFTs. I'm following the Gary V Project V friends. So they're having a conference, a marketing conference, NFT conference in Minneapolis in May. Snoop Dogg is already committed. Him and Gary were hanging out at the Super Bowl. Snoop Dogg's going to be at VCon. I'm going to be at VCon. I got 8 tickets for VCon. And I'm looking forward to that.
That's awesome.
Because I'm thinking, I remember Old School. And I remember when Snoop Dogg came out, I'm thinking like that is so wild, because I remember back in the 90s, you know, we heard Snoop Dogg, and then that movie comes out, early 2000s or something like that, and I'm like, all right, Snoop Dogg again. Now it's coming full circle with the old OG, man, coming out on stage with little Gary V.
Yeah.
That'll be awesome.
You can do a little crip walk with him.
Yeah. What's your favorite travel destination? You go everywhere, man. I thought I traveled, man. You really like to go places.
I love the Virgin Islands, but my favorite trip that I've done already has been Ireland. That was
Ireland.
Beautiful.
Did you golf?
Nope.
No?
Just traveled and went to pubs.
Drink a lot of beer.
We hit over 50 pubs.
Who'd you go with?
Very good friends of ours, you know, family at this point. The Blins,
awesome.
Our kids are very good friends.
Did the kids go or kids stayed behind?
No, it was just 2 couples.
2 couples.
It was a blast. We started off in Dublin, ended in Galway, and saw castles and bed and breakfast.
I'm so curious. I know you'll share this because, you know, you're a pretty free guy. How much does it cost me to go to Ireland and have a nice week over there? Because I have no clue. I've never been over there across the pond. Part of it's because of fear, because I just don't know what it's like over there.
Yeah, I
10
can't
grand?
remember. Less than that.
Oh, so you can go
Less
for
than
that. Oh, okay, awesome. All right, well, that's no big deal. Vegas is more expensive.
Yeah.
Miami can be more expensive. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
So just go over there and just get it done.
Absolutely.
All right, cool.
Yep.
What's your favorite restaurant in the whole entire world? Same question. If you knew you were going to be gone tomorrow and you had one last meal, where would you go?
I don't know.
Don't say Capitol Grill. I feel like you always want to go there.
I like the Monterey Bay.
Monterey
Love
Bay.
the view.
That's a Pittsburgh restaurant, folks. You guys heard it here. Monterey Bay. It is a great view.
Yeah.
It's a great view. You can say this. You can see the stadium. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's all glass. Yeah, it's a great spot. And who's your favorite person?
Favorite person? I would probably always say my mom. Even though she's not with us. But now Stephanie is probably my little daughter, my youngest daughter. She's probably my biggest. She's the thing that helps me disconnect. I will work every hour of the day, but when she walks in, she can help me disconnect like no one else. So,
I know we're gonna wrap this up. Tell me a little bit about Stephanie, because that's a whole nother story.
Oh yeah,
I got chills just thinking about it. Tell me about Stephanie.
Steph was the present that I didn't know I needed, but she was born with Down syndrome. We had no idea until she came into this world, and for 2 weeks I was hoping to wake up from a horrible nightmare, and it changed my life. But she starts smiling, and you could see that personality from an early stage, and she grabs everyone's heart that gets to know her, man. She's just really special, and she really helps. She helped me become a better person. She's very good for her older sister who takes care of her. It's brought, it's one of those things when that happens and you're not expecting it, from a marital standpoint, I think it's going to either put a wedge between you or bring you closer together. And Nicole and I really banded together whenever she was born. And I think we probably needed that, to be honest, at that time of our life.
Yeah, it's always amazing. We talk about adversity a lot in business, but it's like that little adversity in your personal life made you a better human, a better husband, a better father, a better business person, better dealing with people, right? And then you always have, no matter how big your vision is and your goals, you're always going to be able to come back home and get really grounded again, right? And just be grateful that you have an awesome family. I mean, you guys should follow the guy on social media. How does people follow Dan Costantino? Almost did it again.
Recovery. Go to my website and you can hit my socials up. It's 412ah.com, and you can hit all my socials there.
And all your socials are there, yeah, because you got to follow this guy. He's inspirational. He's always posting content. He does a good job, and I'm a marketing guy, so I always tell him he does a good job of mixing it up with family, his hobbies, business, everything that he's doing. It's a really good, even balance, so you never kind of get bored with seeing the same thing over and over again. So it was awesome having you on. I'm definitely going to have you back. We got lots to talk about.
I enjoyed it. That flew
lots
by.
to talk about. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for listening to the Big Fish Cares podcast.